Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And I come to you today with what I hope is an original tag. It's just a humble offering to the plethora of tags already out there. And this is the Interrail/Eurorail book tag part 1. So it's the summer holidays. A lot of people would like to be traveling and can't be, and I thought I would do a travel inspired tag, and it's inspired in part by my own experiences interrailing around Europe. I did it twice. I was very lucky. I did it back in 1998 and then again in the year 2000, so it's a long time ago. For those of you who don't know, interrailing or Eurorailing, I think it's called in America, is when you can buy a ticket that covers most of Europe and I believe also some parts of North Africa like Morocco, and using that ticket you can have free or heavily discounted rail travel. It's open, at least the Interrail for Europeans is open to people under the age of 26. Sadly, I'm just a couple of years too old for that now. Though I can, I think, go for one once I've hit retirement age. So, that's something to look forward to. And yes, you can use this ticket to travel around, which is a fantastic thing. And if anyone who's watching this is young enough, then definitely do it. Or old enough, then definitely do it. If not, then, well, you should still visit Europe anyway, of course. But so this is the Interrail/Eurorail book tag part 1. I think there's around 13 prompts. You'll see how the way it's set up, it's not that easy, but you'll be able to get through it. And please, as always, feel free to edit, change, and add anything you like to these tags. Because I know many of you might think, oh, he didn't talk about such and such. And believe me, in a tag like this, there's so many things I could have talked about. I could have made it extremely long, but maybe it means I can just make different versions in the future if people like it. Okay, so you begin your journey in London. Dr. Johnson said, when a man is tired of London, he is tired of life, for there is in London all that life can afford. What book can you read, reread, and read again and again throughout your life? Now, it's a standard answer for me. I'm sure all of you have probably, or those of you who watch this channel regularly, will know exactly what it is. And it's a book I've just reread with a group. And that, of course, is Jerome K Jerome's Three Men in a Boat. I won't dwell on it because you're probably sick of it already. So I'll move on to the second part, or the second prompt. So Sherlock Holmes lived at 221B Baker Street. Have you ever visited the home of an imaginary character? And if so, whose? Well, when I was a small kid, I was very lucky to go on holiday several times to the States and Canada. And I remember visiting the home of, or I guess it was the town, it was like an open air kind of museum based around Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery on Prince Edward Island. And I remember vividly the schoolhouse from that particular place. I don't know if it was necessarily the home of the fictional character or the author's home. It could have been. I suppose she modelled it on that anyway. And also nearby where I live here in the Czech Republic, I have been to a place called Babičino Údolí. It means grandmother's valley, and it's the place where, although I suppose she wasn't fictional, where Božena Němcová wrote her masterpiece, or her most famous work, The Grandmother. So I don't know how much of it is true and how much of it is meant to be, taken with a pinch of salt. But I've been there as well. And there's probably a few other places, but I can't think of them right now. Okay, next one. Harris asked me if I'd ever been in the maze at Hampton Court. That, of course, is from Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K Jerome. I had to get that in there. And my question to you is, have you ever been lost in a book and not in a good way? Did you completely lose the plot and not have the slightest idea of what was going on? Please give an example. Probably I've had a few of these over time, but the most recent example for me is the buddy read I did of Cold Comfort Farm with Summer, a cozy reading with Quaker Cats. I think both of us found it a bit odd in the beginning, and I certainly got lost. Not that I must have missed something, or I don't know. I didn't read up about it, but there were just some strange parts in it that really confused me. So I had to kind of look things up afterwards, and it was, there's it's a futurist novel. I never realized that it was set in a near future. It wasn't meant to be of the time, and so there were like a little bit of different technological advances and things like that. There's a part where she's kind of video phoning somebody, and that completely threw me by surprise. So threw me or took me by surprise. So that's my example for that one, where I kind of got lost for a moment, but luckily I did get out of it, and in the end, quite enjoyed the book. Okay, the next part then. So you head to St Pancras and board the Eurostar to Paris, and within a couple of hours you arrive at the Gare du Nord. The Père Lachaise Cemetery is on your itinerary. Have you ever been there, or have you ever made a pilgrimage to any literary site? Well, I have been there. Of course, it's the resting place of Oscar Wilde, and that was one of the main reasons I went there. And other literary sites, I wouldn't say necessarily a pilgrimage, but I've been there. So, of course, there's Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey, which is interesting. And I have, as this is Jane Austen July, I have been to the grave of Jane Austen at Winchester Cathedral, as well. So there's probably a few others. And then my follow-up question to this are, what are some of the best historical sites you have visited? Well, I love visiting historical sites when I'm on holiday, and I love also going to cathedrals and castles, as well as museums. And actually, one of the best castles I've ever visited, it's a ruin, but it's really stunning, and that's the White Castle in Abergavenny in Wales. It's about an hour south of Hay-on-Wye, which, of course, for all of us on BookTube, is a place we must visit at least once in our lives. The next part here, Gertrude Stein famously said, "America is my country and Paris is my hometown. What is your country, and what town other than your own have you felt at home in?" Well, my country is the UK, England specifically. And I would have a few answers to this, but I'm going to keep it simple. So probably the place I feel most at home in, other than my own home, is where I live now. I've been here 9 years, which is actually longer than I've ever spent in any home that I've had. So, and this would be the beautiful town of Nowe Město nad Metuji in Královéhradecký kraj in the Czech Republic. Maybe I'll leave a little link to one of my videos where I did a little tour. Okay, next, cafes are everywhere in Paris. I like to sit in one for even a couple of hours, skimming through a book, and of course people watching. If you have been to Paris, where is your favourite place to visit and your favourite thing to do there? If you haven't been to Paris, would you like to go, and what would you most like to see and do there? Well, I've just told you what one of my favourite things to do in Paris is, and that is, of course, sitting in a cafe, preferably in the spring, where it's still a little bit cold, drinking a hot chocolate, reading a nice book, and watching people walk past, because you will see all sorts of people in Paris. And I especially like people watching and dog watching, because you see also a lot of dogs being walked through Paris as well. I think it's probably applicable to a lot of European capitals with their cafe culture, and I certainly like to do it wherever I am, but there's something special about doing that in Paris. So next part, after a few days of eating pain au chocolat and drinking one too many café au laits, you decide to head south. You head to the Gare de Lyon and board the train to Madrid. It will take you 11 hours and 26 minutes. You will travel 654 miles, or 1,052 kilometers. So I'm curious, what is the longest train journey you've ever taken? In my case, I believe that is the night train from Munich to Rome, and this takes over 12 hours. So it was quite long, but I slept for part of it, so it didn't feel too bad. And then the next part is, have you any favourite books or films set on trains? Well, for this I'm going to go with a film, and it's going to be Alfred Hitchcock's 1938 classic, The Lady Vanishes, which if you haven't seen it, I thoroughly recommend that you do. It's great fun. It's extremely old and it's black and white and it's a bit kind of maybe faded now, but it's a great story about an old woman who disappears on a train, and Margaret Lockwood, the main actress in it, she keeps trying to tell people. I think they've remade it. You've probably seen a remake, maybe, if you haven't seen this one. But she tries to convince people that this woman was on the train, and everybody's kind of telling her she never existed in the first place. She meets Michael Redgrave, who's a musical teacher or musician. At first he kind of humors her, and then he gets drawn in, and there's all sorts of plots and international intrigue and espionage, and a couple of fantastic characters. I can't remember their names. There's two Englishmen obsessed with the cricket, and they don't want the train to be delayed. This is it. There's a problem. There's other British people on the train, and for different reasons, they don't want any publicity or the train to be delayed. So there's a couple that are having an affair. There's these two Englishmen who want to get back in time for the final test match between, I think it's England and Australia, and this kind of thing. So it's a great film, and I thoroughly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Okay, the next one. You are lucky that you can ride in comfort through France and over the Pyrenees into Spain, unlike Captain Lucky Jack Aubrey from Post Captain, who had to don a bear suit and answer to the name of Flora to cross the mountains incognito. Have you got a favourite book featuring a manhunt and or subterfuge? Well, for me, I actually will go with Post Captain and the series at whole. There's a lot of subterfuge. That's the Aubrey Maturin series by Patrick O'Brien, if you weren't aware. There's a lot of subterfuge and fun tricks and things that they pull on their enemies, be they French or American. And it's a great series. Okay, the Spanish national anthem famously does not have any words. If you have seen them singing at football matches, they're really just humming along to the tune. What is your favourite instrumental piece of music? So, for me, I love classical music, so there's a lot of instrumental pieces I like, but probably my favourite is the aria Largo from the opera by Handel, Circe. And it was actually originally a soprano castrato piece, and so of course those who don't know, it meant that it was originally sung by a man who had been castrated in order to sing higher notes. I don't mind it when it's sung like that, or even sung by a woman, as I think sometimes it is, of course, these days, because we're not in the habit of castrating singers to get to reach high notes. But I would say my favourite version is that done by piano and violin, so therefore it is an instrumental. I'll probably leave a few links to all of these things that I mentioned down below. And also I love very much, and actually was thinking about it this morning, the piece Memory from the Japanese film Departures. It's a beautiful cello piece. It's written by Joe Hisaishi, and it's fantastic. I'll leave a link to that below for sure. And next one, are you prone to whistling? No, because I can't whistle. No. But bizarrely, I can do it kind of, conversely. Going, breathing in. But I can't do it out. I'm sure there was a point I could do it, and then when I had braces or whatever, I wasn't able to do it. So, I don't know. Okay, the next one, Cronus or Saturn Devouring His Son by Francisco Goya, to my mind, is one of the most disturbing paintings I have seen. You can see it too if you visit the Prado Museum in Madrid. I will show it to you before I carry on. But if you're prone to being upset by disturbing images, then it's obviously you should look away now. It is pretty horrible, right? So there we go, look at that. Isn't that a horrible painting? It is the stuff of nightmares, for sure. So, carrying on with that then, what is the most disturbing book and or painting you have seen. Well, I've already told you my painting, and probably the most disturbing book is one I have mentioned already. Not in this list, but previous videos, and that is The Wolf and the Watchman by Niklas Natt och Dag. And it's very disturbing. I think that's all I need to say about it, and maybe you'll be intrigued enough to have a look why I find it so disturbing. But again, I would warn you, if you are easily disturbed, then really don't read it. Okay, so watching, or having watched Cronus devour his son, it's given you an appetite. You're feeling hungry, so you repair to a restaurant to try Spain's national dish, the paella. If I were to visit your hometown, what restaurant would you take me to, and what would be the dish that you would most recommend me to eat? Well, if you came to my hometown, where I live now, in the Czech Republic, the thing you must try, of course, is beer, because Czech beer is regarded as some of the best beer in the world. It's also extremely cheap. It costs you less to buy a litre of beer in a restaurant or a pub than it would to buy a bottle of mineral water, or even actually sometimes tap water, because sometimes they do charge you in this country for tap water. So there you go. But of course, if we are talking food, then I would recommend to try a couple of Czech national dishes. Unfortunately, nothing much there for the vegetarian or the vegan. I mean, there are options, but not in terms of traditional food. One would be svíčková, which is kind of like a meat. It's a steak in a vegetable, creamy vegetable sauce with like cream and a kind of jam or jelly and dumplings. I'll pop a picture in so you can have a quick look. Okay, and the other dish I would recommend that you try is, especially if you're drinking your lovely Czech beer, is koleno. And I'll pop a picture in there. I won't tell you about it, you'll just see what it is. So here you go. Are you feeling hungry? Okay, so I think we'll pause our journey for now. But if you've enjoyed it up to this point, we will certainly continue in the near future. So the next thing is to please tag some people. And as I said at the beginning, please feel free to edit, change, or add your own questions to this tag. And next time, tag some people. Yes, so I will tag some people. I've got about 12 people to tag. And if I haven't tagged you, you're feel free to do it, of course, anyway. And there's no rhyme or reason really in why I've chosen these people. I just picked them really at random. So I tag Summer at Cozy Reading Quaker Cat, Steve Donahue, Mark Nash, Brian at Bookish, Jack Rambling Raconteur, Very Literary Carrie, MKV or Michael K Vaughan, Vin at Revenant Reads, Christina, Knitting Books, etc., Greg, another bibliophile reads, Sandy at Misreads a Lot, and last but not least, Shelley Swearingen, isn't it? It's like from Deadwood, the bad guy in that. Sorry, Shelley, you probably get that all the time. So next time we will move further west on the Iberian Peninsula and head to Portugal. Until then, até mais. I hope that's right. I'm sure, Christina, you'll correct me. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Better